Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our August 2nd Launch and Learn for Modern Change. Some of you may know me, some of you may not know me. I'm Lindsay Gonzalez-Prada. I'm a product manager on the outbound side in ITSM. I'm recognizing some names here because I also lead the ITSM Product Advisory Council, and I know I had some of my folks join. We had a session yesterday and one in Asia on Monday night, California time, that is. So welcome to our session. I'm filling in for my colleague, Christopher Elliott, who, by the way, y'all, he's out getting married right now. So the next time you see him on one of these, be sure to congratulate him or poke him a little bit if you feel like it. So as you know, the Launch and Learn series, it's a series of sessions that we do bi-monthly. Chris will be back with you on our next one, but today we're going to be going over service operations workspace change management, and my friend and colleague Sheba is going to lead for us. A couple housekeeping items. Sheba, I think you can go to the next slide. Yeah, my PAC members have seen this multiple times, but if you could, please change your name in the Zoom participant list. And here's how you do it. You find your name in the participant list, go to more and hit rename. And then if you could put your full name and the company you're with, and that includes ServiceNow people, because I want to make sure that all of our wonderful guests know who's talking, and also for our customer guests who are on the call today, we want to know who's talking as well on our end so that we can take down any follow-ups and know who you are if we need to follow up with you. As you can see, we have a lot of folks on the call today, so we want to make sure we get everybody straight. So if you have questions on how to do it, you can chat, direct chat me in the Zoom chat. If you can't chat or, you have limitations with Zoom, feel free to raise your hand. Right now, I've put everyone on mute to start since we have such a large audience, but you can always raise your hand or put in the chat any questions, anything, direct chat me or chat with everyone, and we'll be watching to unmute folks. Usually we don't mute folks, but it's just there's so many people, and you can imagine how that can go sometimes. So next slide. Safe harbor. I think a lot of you have probably seen this in some way, shape, or form, but obviously we're going to be talking about future products, plans, things that maybe aren't set in stone yet. So we just this is our life, the get out of jail free card. So just know that we're you don't want to make any purchasing decisions necessarily based on any future statements that we make, but Sheba will let you know as we go too, right, Sheba?
I will, for sure.
Yeah, hi. Thanks, Sheba. All right, and I think next slide I'm going to hand it over to my colleague Sheba to get going, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Lindsay. Hi, everyone, morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you are. So for today's session, we're going to focus on change management and change management in service operations workspace. So that's really the topic. So purely from an agenda standpoint, I'll cover an overview of what service operations is, what does change management look like or means in service operations workspace. We'll do have a demo for you, and then we will get into the Q&A session. Now, before I get started, this is the schedule that you have actually seen, probably most likely all of you are aware of. So we have had 3 sessions. We talked about modern change, success score, next gen risk. Today we are doing SOW change, and then we have 3 more sessions coming up, talking about multimodal, embracing DevOps, and then just in general, what is the vision of change management and what does the future look like. So that's really the session today. And with me today, I have my core team to help us with any kind of questions, any questions that you have around change management, SOW in general. So I have Isaac, Cameron, Gordon. Aria is not able to make it, but these guys are all experts in change management. So we'll get started with that. Now, Lindsay, just a quick question. I know there is a bunch of survey questions. So do we do now? Do we do it later?
Yeah. Oh, thank you for reminding me. Yes. Well, let's do it now. Let me go back and pull it up. So yeah, I'm going to launch a series of just one poll, but it has 3 questions in it. So if you could take a couple minutes and respond, we'd really appreciate it. So essentially, have you implemented SOW? Do you have any plans to do it in the next 12 months? And then if you haven't, like, what's preventing you from turning it on and using it? Okay, there's a good amount of answers coming in. Thank you. Let's keep going. We're about halfway there to all of our participants. And feel free, if you're not, if your company doesn't allow you to do polls or chat, you could, raise your hand and shout it out or put it in the chat if you can use chat, that is. All right, we're at 58%. Let's keep going. Can we get to 75, guys? We can do it. Does everybody have their coffee in them? Wherever you are in the world? Let's see. We're still going. We're at 61% anymore. Let's give it another 30 to 45 seconds. See if we can squeeze out a last few participants to respond. Okay, we have some folks in the chat also responding. Oh, I see my friend Brett. Hi, Brett. I guess obstacle is getting VA agent chat implemented. Okay, that's Brett. We have it in our plans to implement later this year. Another one from S. White. S. White, update your name so I know what company you're from. Julie, planning to implement later this year. And oh, my friend Ralph, who's also on PAC, our issue is mostly resourcing, but also lack of clarity on what the operations workspace is. Got it. Thanks, Ralph. All right, we hit 65%. I'm gonna go ahead and end the poll and share the results. And Shiva, if you want to walk through the results, if you have any commentary you want to make.
Oh, sure. No, I mean, this data is definitely very, very useful for us to kind of figure out, what the next steps are, whether it is enablement or do we need to connect offline. So thank you so much for taking the survey. And again, we will go through the results and come back and evaluate what our next steps should be. Thank you again. Okay, so I know there was someone did comment that, not clear about what service operations workspace is. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm not going to go into service operations workspace in detail. We do have, live ServiceNow events. There are multiple sessions that we are running on service operations workspace. There is also a session on incident management in service operations workspace that is planned for later part of this year. So definitely a lot of sessions. Again, feel free to reach out to us. We can definitely, connect on this topic. Now, I'm just going to go back, step back a little and talk about service operations in general, right? And this is common. Today, we do have, IT service management teams as well as IT operations management teams kind of working in silos. And with service operations or ServOps, our goal was to kind of break the silos, and predominantly we are looking at the data that you're getting from operations, whether it is coming from your monitoring or your predictive intelligence. How do we kind of use that data to drive solutions, which is ultimately kind of servicing your end users, right? So as an example, we are talking about a responder working on incident management or responding to incidents. You might have like a virtual agent, which is focused on self-service solutions for your end users. All of those solutions will definitely benefit from the data that you're getting from ops, from your DevOps systems, anything data that you can get from your endpoints. So this is definitely going to help the personas who are responding to incidents, working on changes. And our ultimate goal is obviously responding, resolving, remediating these incidents faster, as well as preventing outages, right? Now, vice versa, when you have your operation systems where you have your infrastructure, you have your applications, that's what you're monitoring. On that end as well, you will benefit a lot from what is, some of the events that are human driven, right? So changes that are happening, your teams that are doing root cause analysis. How do you kind of feed that information into the ops workflow? Again, goal is to prevent outages, right? So that's really taking a very, very high level look at service operations. Now, if you go into service operations workspace, now here is where, when we have the opportunity to move our core workflows, that is incident problem change, alert management, from our core UI, that is UI 16, to next experience, we did not necessarily want to just lift and shift your existing flows from UI 16 into next experience. We took this as a challenge or an opportunity to kind of take a look at where our customers are. And in the last year, what we had learned is, obviously, most of you are adopting DevOps practices, SRE practices. You are creating these teams that are autonomous, and they want the flexibility and autonomy to kind of manage their own services, respond to incidents and alerts, as well as, take care of changes, right? So what we looked at is we had the ITSM agent workspace, which was just purely focused on your agent persona, which is your tier 1, to an extent, your tier 2 support team, still part of your service desk or help desk. And then we had operator workspace. This was really all built on agent workspace, but focused on your operator persona. And then keeping the DevOps and the SRE kind of demand in the market, we did work on site reliability operations workspace. Now, this was also built on agent workspace, but we were hitting like a different persona in this case. Your autonomous teams could be a DevOps team or like an SRE, a site reliability engineer. Now, when we worked on site reliability operations workspace, that was a great learning for us to see that to respond to those alerts, you are really depending on a lot of data that is coming in, from your monitoring, your service graph connectors, if you have service map in place, CMDB in place. And then ultimately on the response side, a lot of it was in the ITSM space. So we ended up building a workflow that connected the ops workflows as well as the service management workflows. This is where the decision to work on one single workspace, service operations, which aligns very well with the service operations narrative, is to just benefit from all the data that you have coming in from monitoring, whether you're using ServiceNow, whether you are using external monitoring tools, but how does your response teams or service management teams kind of benefit from the data, and then vice versa. So that's really just a quick overview of service operations and service operations workspace. Now, purely from a persona standpoint, I know we were having this discussion yesterday during a PAC session as well, is When we looked at Service Operations Workspace, we want it to be tailored experience for your different personas. So if you're like a service desk agent, the information that is surfaced to you is relevant for your jobs that you do during your work hours, right? Versus if you're a tier 2, tier 3 subject matter expert, application support engineer, or a site reliability engineer, the data that we will display to you will be relevant again for the jobs that you do in terms of ServiceNow, when you have to access ServiceNow. And again, there are a lot of features, a lot of information, but today we're going to focus on change management in Service Operations Workspace. Now, when we started out with Service Operations Workspace, we started with your tier 1 workflows, right? So that meant walk-up experiences or incident management, interaction management, chat capabilities, and all of that. As a next step, we wanted to start targeting your tier 2, tier 3 teams who are performing changes, working on problems. So change management was the next workflow that we moved into Service Operations Workspace. It was released on top of Utah, and Feb 2023 was the first release. Now, similar to other workflows, we did not want to just lift and shift your existing workflows into Service Operations Workspace, right? So our main focus when we were working on SOW or Service Operations Workspace, we wanted to keep a focus on the overall user experience, provide contextual information, think about workflows and what information needs to be surfaced when an agent or a responder or a change manager is doing their job. What is the relevant information, right? So keeping that in mind, you will see the same trend as we are moving other workflows into SOW is the experiences that are built are definitely thought through. Now, obviously, we will work with you, take your feedback and improve on these, but this is really our first take or first cut of the change experience in SOW or any other experience. Now, in Feb, you can manage the life cycle of a change request end-to-end in Service Operations Workspace. You shouldn't have to go out of Service Operations Workspace to manage a change request. We also created, this dynamic overview page, and the goal was, again, to surface contextual information depending on the state or stage of the change request. And then ultimately, I know Greg, Danielle, Isaac, we have been talking about change management in general. We wanted to be more data-driven and the practices to be adaptive. And ultimate goal is obviously, minimizing risks. So that's really a quick overview of what that change request looks like in ServiceNow. And again, I'm going to go into the demo, so we'll go through it. This next one is also the change scheduling experience. So this is also reimagined in terms of how your conflicts, maintenance windows, any kind of conflicts are displayed here when you are creating or scheduling your change request. And then it also has that intuitive experience of showing you the next available or the next best window for you to actually perform a change. Based on our conversations, there's a lot more that we have to do with conflict, management and conflict detection, but that's all on the roadmap. We'll definitely be happy to kind of have further discussions, get your feedback, and we'll keep doing that throughout the session. Now, the last thing, sorry, I forgot to cover one last slide before I go into the demo bit. Now, the overview page, again, all of you have your change processes built out. We are not necessarily asking you to change the process. So you can move your existing processes into SOW. Cam and Gordon and the team has done a fantastic job on simplifying how you will configure your pages, right? And again, as soon as I go over the demo, you will see what exactly we are talking about. So we are trying to simplify how you will configure your record pages, your landing pages in Service Operations Workspace. So that's definitely a goal for us. Now with that, I'm just going to go into the demo. So here, hopefully you can still see my screen. I'm logged in as an ITIL user, and this is my landing page. Now, as soon as you come here, you can actually create a change request using that plus icon there. You can go to your list, you can create a change request from there as well. This is really just a quick, easy way. And as soon as you click on that, you come to this landing page, right? This is very similar to what you had in UI 16 as well. It shows you, different models that are available for creating a change request. Very similar functionality. So I'm going to go ahead and select the normal changes here. Now, you can also notice that for each of these change types or models, you do have the success rate defined as well. So I'm just going to click on normal at this point and just get started with that. Now, with the overview page here, our intent was definitely to simplify the information that is needed up front to create a change request. I just need basic information to create it. And I'm just going to go ahead and just type the necessary information in for us to get through the change. So give me just a second here. Okay, so I did like really a quick copy paste here because I did not want to type. So that's really my short description. I just had to give the justification to get the change request in. And again, you can configure what fields are mandatory, what fields are required to get the change request started. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and save the change request. Now, as soon as I changed it, you will see that some other sections are now visible to me. I can define the scope and impact of the change. I can assign it to the right team. I can schedule it, risk assessment. You can obviously go and do this in any order, but we just thought about what order kind of makes sense, and we have defined it in that way. So I have my summary. I'm just going to go ahead and add my scope, like CI and service in this case. And let's just say this is related to, I'm just going to select the mail server. My service is email. Actually, I'm going to leave that and show you what happens after that. So I selected my primary configuration item here. I'm going to save it. Now, as soon as you save your one CI, you will see the refresh impacted services, right? You can click on that action. It refreshes the impacted services in the background. In the meanwhile, I can click on affected CIs. You can see the CI information. You can configure what columns make sense for you. Out of the box, we are showing what CI, what server class. And while it's running the impacted services, it just takes a few seconds. It's a background job, and it's going to just update that information. Okay, I'm going to skip out of that. And next step, I need to go and assign this change. I can set a schedule. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, instead of assigning, I do want to kind of set the schedule. So let's just look at that experience. So when you click on set schedule, it opens up this calendar view. And here is where, you can see the blackout windows, maintenance windows, and all of that, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and select, let's say, tomorrow. We want to do this change tomorrow, let's say at 11:30. And I'm just going to copy paste, select it. Let's say it's going to take me an hour to do it. So let's schedule that change. And as soon as you schedule it, here is where, it kind of looks at the conflicts and sees what kind of conflicts do you have. Now, if I go to the right, left, obviously you can see I have a blackout window here. There is a maintenance window, but I'm doing my change out of maintenance window. So that's where it's recommending the next conflict-free date for me. It would be better to schedule it during the maintenance window. So I'm just going to go ahead and schedule that change. Just take the next conflict window. Conflict-free window that is available. So at this point, you can see there are no conflicts detected. So my change is scheduled. And if you had any kind of other changes that were conflicting, that information will also show up. So right now I don't have any. I'm going to just close out of it. Okay, so I do need to do the risk assessment. Now in this case, we do have risk assessment set up to basically calculate the risk, right? I do want to kind of make it like a very complex and a high risk change. So I'm just going to select these questions here. This is same, if you were using risk assessment in Core UI, UI 16, nothing much has changed. It still works pretty much the same here. And now you can see here that on the right-hand side panel, you do have the risk that has been calculated. I did miss a step. I should have assigned it, but there is an issue that we are working through right now. So I don't think now assigning it to a team is going to impact my risk score. Yeah, that's the bug that we are working on. But you can see here, the risk is calculated high. It's again a combination of, depending on what you're using. I did do the risk assessment. It'll also use the risk calculations in the backend to define the risk. We also look at the probability of success as well as the change success score, all of that information to kind of decide what the risk for this change will be. Now, you can also see the model success score, right? So this was what was defined when you were on the landing page. It tells you what is the success rate of this model that we have selected. So you have the risk information here. I did assign it to somebody. Let's say, am I ready to submit this change? I think I have all the necessary information to submit the change. So I'm going to go ahead and request approval at this point. And you will see, the view changes very slightly. Right now, this is sitting in assess state, which means it's going for now a peer review or assessment. And here on the right-hand side, you will see another card that has come up, which kind of shows you, what time the change is scheduled for. So you have all the necessary information on the right-hand panel. Now here on the overview page, you will see that the summary and everything just got pushed down a little. And right at the top, you have the field or information available for you to assess that particular change. Now, if you go to the related records here, this is, again, something very consistent. You're all used to seeing the related records. Approvers. So here is where, these are the folks who are going to go approve or assess my change request. Now, on the other browser, I am logged in as Bushra, who is going to assess that change request. Let me see. So the change request number is 82. So I'm just showing you the list version of it. Pretty much works the same, the way, you have this in your core UI. I forgot my change number, so it is 82. Let's just search for it. Okay. And you can see it is sitting in the assess state. Now, as soon as I'm come here, I'm logged in as Bushra. On the overview page, you will see the information that is surfaced is for me to approve or reject that change request. And I wonder what happened here. Okay, just took a second to load. And here you can see, that's the first step. That's the task that I have to do, is just take a look at the summary, the necessary information on the record information, and just make a decision. So I'm just going to approve this change request. Now, if I wanted to kind of communicate with the requester, I can definitely add additional comments, work notes, and just communicate with the requester that way. Okay, so right now it is sitting in authorized. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to impersonate one more time and just go through the authorization process here. While it's loading on this browser, if we go back, you can see that it automatically updated to the authorized state, and it shows me, where I am right now in the change request. So let's just quickly do this. And I'm going through all of this just to not complete the entire workflow, but I do want to kind of show you, what does the next implement stage looks like. So this view is going to be very similar to your assess view. Again, I'm an approver. I just want to quickly review this change. I did pick up the wrong one, sorry. So that's the one we were working through. Same thing, I'm just going to quickly make an approval here. And now I'm just going to go back to the other browser and show you the next steps there. Okay, so you can see the change is now in scheduled state. I can go to the implement. That UI action will be available for you to move it to the next stage. If you wanted to add change tasks, take a look at the scope summary, all that information is available here. So let's click on implement. Now at this point, you'll see that there were 2 change tasks that were added. Now this is out of the box. You might have your own workflow, depending on what kind of tasks you add here. But it gave me 2 tasks. One is implementation and one is the post-implementation testing. Now you can go through the implementation process, go through your regular change process. And basically, once you're done, you can move the change request to new. What I'm going to go and do is just close these change tasks. Let's say I am done with the implementation and done with testing as well. So here now, when I go back to details, you'll see that all my tasks are complete. And it is automatically moved to the review state because I closed all my tasks. Now that's the logic we have shipped out of the box. If you want to change it, you can absolutely change it. But during the review process, here is where you're reviewing the change, if it was successful, not successful, and you can add your closure information. For the closure information, you usually do your close codes and your close notes, and that's the information that is required for you to successfully close the change request. So that's really at a very, very high level, how the dynamic overview pages work, how the information is contextual. Actions that are shown are contextual based on state and stage of the change request, state or stage of the change request. And then Cameron, Gordon, anything that I missed that you would like?
Yeah. So we've got some questions here I've been collecting, and I do see some hands raised. So we'll go through the questions first. Aaron asked, this is about maintenance windows. So how does the multimodal change and DevOps work with maintenance windows? Yeah, there may be frequent conflicts detected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. And that is where I said that, we do have to do some work on how the conflicts are detected with maintenance windows, where your blackout windows. And again, the conflicts that are detected, sometimes you will detect conflicts and probably it's not going to impact your change, right? So that's the work that we have to do more, is to figure out, based on the conflict that is detected and type of the conflict for a given change, like for a DevOps change, do you have to worry about the maintenance windows or not, right? So it is truly not a conflict. I mean, it is a conflict, but then do you have to account in that conflict? So that is the additional work that we have to do on our end. From a conflict detection standpoint, I don't think we have changed any logic, but I'm happy to have like a follow-up discussion and see how do you want to actually handle it.
Okay, and also referencing the process guide for change management, is there any additional guidance for using maintenance windows where we can help? I mean, Aaron, I'm a little confused on that question. I mean, is it the configuration of the maintenance windows that you were looking for? But yeah, the guidance would really be your scheduling in the maintenance. The configuration is also of the maintenance windows is documented. So maybe if you have some additional context for us, that would help. Gordon and Cameron, can we force a lead time in the set schedule UI?
No, not currently. But we do, there's a lot of the things around change and setting schedules and determining risk based on time and those kinds of things. We've got a really trivial, awful example that's been in the product as sort of demo data for probably about 10 years. which is if the service is critical and you're creating the change within, I think the planned start date within the week, something to that extent, it automatically ups the risk of that change to high. So there's a number of configurable ways around that, but nothing that we enforce. And I answered a question just a little bit before this as well around. There's a number of things that various customers in various ways and form have asked for enforcement of these things. And generally, from a change perspective, purely based on the age of the product and trying to enforce anything out the box is almost a no-go, because we're going to have half our customers that don't want it, and the other half might want it. It never goes down particularly well. But there's loads of ways to configure that, from maintenance schedules. I saw there was a best practices for maintenance schedules from Aaron down the bottom. Have as few of them as you possibly can. And if you absolutely can, from a C&DB point of view, use application services. If you can roll those kind of things up to, so you're maintaining as fewer schedules as you can, especially if you maintain them from the service level with all the CIs that live underneath that. There's a reason why we built that. We built that years ago. But that's generally what I find, because as soon as you get thousands and thousands of conflicts, a lot of customers just go, well, what am I supposed to do with these? So there's a number of things that conflict detection's done recently where we you can reduce the volume of conflicts that you get, but we also find that often the fewer that you can do to maintain them correctly means less blackout schedules. That's a different story altogether. Most customers don't have hundreds of thousands of those. There's a few key ones. In the US, it might be over Thanksgiving, blackout schedule, absolutely, and the run up to that for Black Friday, almost certainly, those kinds of things. But maintenance schedules we often see can go one of a couple of ways. But I always recommend if the fewer the better, if you can roll them up into your app service, if you have the capability of doing that with a C&DB that looks healthy, that often works very, very well for customers, because fewer things to maintain and manage, and therefore fewer conflicts when you're actually trying to deal with those as well.
Right.
I think I answered that question.
I got it. So another question about implementing service operations workspace. The first page, there's a quick analysis and links for incident management, and they're working on configuring it to include other ITSM processes. They're asking why are these quick analysis and links not available for change management, or will they be planned in the future?
Oh, I'm wondering what kind of links. Who's that question from? If you can go on unmute and give us an example, I think that'll be awesome.
That was, we actually don't know where that came from directly. Lindsay, you might need to help us track down who asked that. Michael, that change model, I believe, was demonstrated. Was that normal, Sheba? Was that a normal change model?
Sorry, which one?
Your demonstration when you created the new change request, did you not the incident, did you do when you created your new change, was it you picked normal, right?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, hi everyone. I think it was my question. So if you go to home, so here already you can find some links which are related directly to incidents, so assigned to you. And I know that you can filter between your group and your work.
Yeah.
But I know this is only available for incidents now, right?
Oh no, so actually it should not be, and I'm going to take a look at that. So ideally speaking, if you're a member of a service desk, you mostly see incidents, just catalog tasks. But if you're a tier 2, tier 3 member, and the way we are determining that is, you're part of any other group like database or application groups, then you should see change tasks and changes assigned to you as well. And we'll double check that and get back to you. But there are different versions of landing pages. So there is a tier 1 landing page, there is a tier 2, tier 3 landing page. And in the tier 2, tier 3 landing page, we show the change requests and problems as well.
Okay, so it would be great to send the details, because I know we're trying to implement this right now, and our developers having an issue with this. So they're creating their own cards somehow. And for me, I don't think it's very user-friendly to do this somehow. So I was just checking if there was a fast solution or solution which was already there.
Yeah. So I will definitely, Lindsay, there is a way to connect back, right? We can connect back with you and kind of share the different landing pages that we have. And I know we do like get back to the questions offline as well, Lindsay.
Yeah.
That's what Chris
I'm
was.
tracking all the questions, and then we'll send out a summary of the questions and the items we were able to answer. For those we can't answer online and we need further follow-up, we'll connect with you and we'll let everybody know the answers on those as well.
Yeah.
Actually, on the existing change, the one you have it there, that's 0082. The question is, could you show if the copy change feature is still preserved on the service operations workspace?
Yeah, I think the answer is yes.
Thank you.
I was playing with it now.
Wanna
copy
make sure-
change actions there and it's available.
Yeah, I want to make sure we get to Michael, who's had his hand up for a while. So Michael, by the way, I've let everybody come off mute if they want to come off mute, but let's make sure we don't talk over each other. But so Michael, go ahead if you want to come off mute. I see you asked a question in the chat too. Maybe it's the same question you have.
It's not. That question was answered actually, so thank you.
Oh, okay. Oh, good.
So just a couple things. The first, when you were doing a demo, it appeared that this record showed up on the change schedule before it was authorized. Is that what I actually saw?
Should not have. So at what stage? I'm just going to do a quick test change, Michael.
Yeah, when you're going through it, you pulled up the schedule and I had thought this change appeared there after you put in your dates.
This is what you're talking about, right?
I am, yes.
Yeah. No, so the change definitely has not here yet. It's just showing me, what time, the current time and date, right? Now, as soon as I put the start date, then you will see it. But right now it's not there.
Right, and that's my question. As soon as you fill these dates, I should see it on the schedule, right?
Yeah, and I'm just going to save it. So oh, I see. No, I still have to change, like scheduling basically saving the records, the time, date and time that I selected. Oh, I did not select the CI, my bad. So I'm going to go and select the CI. Let's just say that I'm going to select the service. Let's go back. Why is it saying I have incorrect date and time?
You have a period instead of a colon before the 30 seconds.
Thank you so much. So when I schedule it now, it's basically saving the record, and this is where you see it.
Okay, and that was my question, because this is backward from the workflow. In my record, I have to get it authorized before I can schedule it. Now you've scheduled it and it's not authorized.
Oh, I see. So your workflow is slightly different, because what we were.
Your workflow is exactly that.
I think if
If you pull it up.
Yeah.
I don't think if you went to another change that it would show it as a conflict though until it's approved. I think that's what he's getting at. It's just a wizard.
It's actually just confusing, because if someone pulls up a schedule based on changes that aren't authorized yet, they don't know that. It just shows that it's on the schedule.
Yes. So what you're saying, Michael, is this change right now, as a requester, I have a proposed planned and a start and date, right? So this is not scheduling in the sense I'm a requester. Yes. It's not authorized. But when I do another change request on the same service, is this going to show up? It should not, because it is not authorized yet. Yeah.
I don't think it should appear in the schedule at all
No, but
until it's authorized.
I think
That's
the
kind
key
of what
thing
I'm
here,
getting
Sheba,
at.
is that is how conflict works today. Though it's not a new thing from SOW.
Yeah.
I can see how that might be confusing for your use case, Mike, but that is one of the things that's so let me just talk about this just for a smidge, Sheba. So there are a couple of things that we're trying to improve, and one of those things is the way in which conflict works. See, conflict for today, for us, the way we're running it now, how we pull conflict and scheduling through change since Geneva hasn't changed out of the box. That's how it is. It doesn't work for you, but that's how it is. The key thing we want to be able to do is determine when and what type of changes should be looked at when conflict runs, and when should conflict run. So if you've got a change in the new state, and you might have dates or no dates if that's what you choose, but it's in the new state, hasn't been approved or authorized, you don't know at all that it's going to be implemented. Should it be a conflict? Probably not. Is it a conflict today? Yes. So there's absolutely some work that we know that's in our backlog in order to make this far more streamlined, so that kind of question you ask, you go, okay, that's no problem. I can just configure it to do precisely what I want on this model, but maybe on that change model over there, I want it to work slightly differently, or ignore conflicts completely because it's a DevOps change and it's low risk, or whatever the example might be.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you for pointing that out, Michael. Yes.
Well, the problem is two stages of why I want to see a conflict. The first one is to put it on a schedule and make sure I'm not going to conflict with something that's already there. And the other is everything is authorized and scheduled, and I've got overlap.
Yeah.
They're really two very different phases that look the same on this calendar.
Yes. Feedback take.
That's why I was curious about it.
Yeah, makes sense, Michael. Yeah.
Okay. The other is the question on conflicts. I'm curious as to why anybody would see large numbers of conflicts unless they have the same window of time and the same CIs being touched in that window. Isn't that what conflict would equate to?
Same CI. It could also be related in the sense, you're making a change on a CI that is downstream, but and an application change. So that could be a conflict.
Which I could see, but that resulting in hundreds of conflicts doesn't make any sense.
Yes.
So like in our company, we look upstream and downstream. So to make sure we understand conflicts and how it could impact other CIs that are related. So that may be where some of the companies are going to see lots of conflicts. It may not be a direct hit, it's a indirect hit, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was asking for in the guidance on maintenance windows is I have stakeholders constantly confused as to how conflicts work, that they look up and downstream on the service. And maintenance windows should be designed around the end-to-end service itself. So inevitably, I have people that are trying to create a maintenance window for an application, and then a maintenance window for its infrastructure, and a maintenance window for this, and then all of a sudden you have these overlapping maintenance windows. But for me to point someone to a resource to, hey, here's how you use maintenance windows, there just isn't really a great resource out there.
Yeah. Aaron, that's a fair point. I think just overall, let's just, let us kind of take this question back on maintenance windows and on conflicts, and we will see what information is available today and what we are able to kind of share. And I think, like Cameron said, I've done change management implementation with customers in the past, and everyone's process is very, very, very different. Aaron, to your point, I have seen customers creating maintenance windows on infrastructure CIs, as well as my application services CIs, right? So processes are very different. So that's why we have kind of kept it very generic. But we take that feedback. We'll probably have to kind of work around the different flavors that everyone has and come up with, what that best practice kind of looks like, right? Or provide a recommendation. So I will just ask this, Angela. I know you brought up, the number of conflicts that you have. If you're open, willing to a conversation, then this is a topic of interest, and we would love to connect with you offline.
Sure, absolutely.
Same for you, Michael. Same for you. But yes, it'll be good to connect.
We've got a series of questions from John Henrywood. John, if you don't mind unmuting to discuss that. Let's see, you should have access to. Oh.
See you off mute.
Okay. Well, we can go through these here. So can you apply planned outages and degradation to CIs in the change record?
Any kind of planned outages? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would assume that if you do have a planned outage, like unplanned outages, in the future, we are talking about on the overview page, like taking a look at the service/CI maps, right? So at that point, anything unplanned, planned, we will be able to show more. But I'm hoping that your unplanned outages are in ServiceNow, created as a record, either associated with an incident, and your planned outages are associated to a change request, or at least you have like an outage record that is created in ServiceNow. Then yes, we should be absolutely able to pull that information.
I think what he's asking is whether or not you can do it per CI on the change as opposed to only having one outage window, which is the current ability.
Yeah, there are, again, outages. You can do it multiple ways. You can definitely go create like planned outage records per CI. That is an option. In the outage record, it does give you an option to create like a parent outage record and just associate all your, child or other affected CIs to one outage record. So definitely multiple ways to handle it. Out of the box, we might not.
Can you show how to trigger and to create an outage record off of the operation workspace view? I'm assuming it's in the context button, but
yeah, I wonder if it is here. I know it is on. Sorry, it is here, and it is also
there it is.
outage and on the incident record as well. Yeah. I mean, in this case, you are selecting like a primary CI and CI that had only change, but you can also add more affected CIs. That's one way to do it. That's the trigger. But if you want to kind of go and create an outage record for every associated CI, that is also possible. I mean, out of the box, not, but you can obviously modify the logic. Okay. I see Anita's hand is raised. Hey, Anita.
Hey, Shiva. So the biggest pain point with this service operation workspace that we are seeing is the initial effort to move to the service operation workspace. At Kaiser, we do have a lot of customizations that we have built over years. Now we have to port all those customizations to this service operation workspace. So there is a lot of work involved. So that is where the biggest pain point that we are currently facing. So for you guys moved from new call to interaction record, and then we went to agent workspace, then we are now here. So each time this move has to be done, everything has to be rebuilt.
To an extent, yes. I mean, so yes, please go ahead. Please continue.
So that is where, like, there should be some easy way to, like, port this portion as a package to this new workspace or whatever technology you guys come up with, right? So right now, if we have on the cards to move the interactions to service operation workspace, we have effort scheduled for that. Now change management, it's really very good that we can move over, but then until we move over, we have to maintain the classic provider view, and we have to maintain this workspace too. I don't know when and how we can just totally replace that previous view and then move everyone over here. But until then, that is a huge pain point, right? So that is a lot of worth of dollars that we'll have to spend on this.
Yes,
Do you have,
absolutely.
so do you have any recommendations?
Yeah, I mean, it is definitely a loaded question, but so here is how I would recommend thinking about it, right? If you think about it, your incident, problem, change, all of these are core products, core workflows that we started out with, right? And over a period of times, like Cam was saying, perfect classic example, that some of these record types of workflows that we have created, like outage, Cameron was talking about, just conflict detection. We have not updated it since Geneva. We have DevOps changes coming in. These conflicts should work differently for DevOps changes. So what I'm saying is, when we wanted to move the core workflows from core UI to workspace, we definitely want to keep these workflows relevant to how your workflows are today, right? Some of the things are so old, Anita, on the existing product that it doesn't even make sense to continue going that path, right? So our recommendation when you were moving from your UI 16 to service operations workspace is definitely to challenge what the processes you have today. Some of the customers that I have spoken to, they are taking a look at this as an opportunity to kind of go back into the box or go out of the box or just modernize their processes and flows as well. So that's just really one recommendation for sure, is to relook at your existing processes and see, do you want to really put it over as is, or is this an opportunity to kind of rethink, reimagine a little bit? We definitely went the route of reimagine, right? Because you do want to kind of make it work for how work gets done today. There is a lot of collaboration. All of that was not there in your core UI 16. Having said that, I understand the difficulty if you want to just port over anything from UI 16 to SOW per se, right? There are certain things that work, but fundamentally the technology behind behind both of these is very, very different. So there was really an easy migration path that we could come up with. Now, there are certain things that obviously work. We tried making some things a little bit easier to say that, hey, if you have like a client script, you can make it work on all 3 UIs, right? So Anita, we'll definitely love to connect with you offline on this topic a little bit more. But that's my fundamental question is, are you just looking to port over, or is this an opportunity for you to rethink? It's quite possible that all the workflows that you have defined over, number of years still make sense to follow through, right?
I'm also trying to just like come across to my customers here as like, take it as an opportunity to rethink, reimagine. But end of day, the reality is like we cannot like change many things even if we want to, and like that's what it results into, that okay, we now have a huge development effort that is something that we have to really take care of.
Yeah, 100%. Just one thing, Anita, like in general, SOW, Cameron, Gordon, all of us have been working on just an effort to say, how do we make the configuration of SOW a little bit easier, right? So that anything that we can do to help you with the migration, in the sense, make it easier for you to configure your workflows in SOW is something that we are definitely looking at. And that is where I want to connect with you and see, what does it mean for you, right? To move a workflow. We can take a look at one workflow and understand what does that mean.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
We'd be happy.
Sorry, folks. We got to cut it off now because we're actually 2 minutes over, but you will get some follow-ups from me, the recording, I'll send out what we heard and some of our answers, and then I'll also meet with the team to make sure they are aware of all the follow-ups that we want to do. So thank you so much for meeting with us today. Our next session is on August 16th, which will cover multimodal change. Appreciate you guys being here. Great discussion, great feedback. Wish we had more time to talk more about this. Obviously, there's lots of questions, But we will have opportunities to connect with you. So thank you so much, and we'll see you on August 16th.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for the questions.
Thank you.